Yep.
Good morning. Okay, how about that? Good morning. Thanks everybody for joining us on this rainy day. I hope you all made it in before it did start actually pouring outside. Welcome to the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce's first education update. I'm Kristen Craig, Executive Director of the Chamber. We're really excited about today's event. I think it all spun from a conversation that I had with Dr. Himsel following one of our other update events, the update or county update. And he said to me, it would be really great to do this kind of thing for the educational assets in our community. And from there, we've been working on the idea, and here we are, what, a few months later, making that happen. But we are a community with incredible education assets, and we really wanted to showcase that today, both the positives that are happening within each of those institutions, as well as the collaboration that's happening between those institutions. So I think you'll walk away from today with some good information. First, I want to thank our sponsors who have come on board. We have Duke Energy and, of course, Rick Berger, who has agreed to sponsor. Thank you, Rick. And we also have a sponsor from the Vigo County Teachers Association. And I think we have a few representatives of the VCTA. Marie's waving. So thank you both for your support of this event. In case you missed it, we do have some handouts in the back of the room that include some highlights from today's presentation. Take those with you. If there's someone take them back to your place of business. If there's someone who was unable to attend today, hand them that information. We want to make sure that as many people as possible, not just those of you in the room, are aware of these good things that are happening, and we are relying upon all of you to help share that messaging after today's presentation. There also is a QR code on the handout for questions that you can submit, and then we can take those at the end. Although I'm not terribly convinced we're going to have a lot of extra time for questions. But please go ahead and submit, and we can work with our presenters on getting those answered as well. All right, so before we get started, I do want to share details of one program that the Chamber has coming up, since I have all of you as a captive audience. And this is called Connect in West Central Indiana. This is a program that's designed to connect new employees within a company, especially new residents, to the community in a more meaningful way. It's a 12-week program consisting of 7 events, and all of these activities are aimed at connecting the participants through civic and social events, community service activities, meet and greets with our local elected officials and business leaders, as well as tours of area attractions. The first cohort kicks off on September 5th, so that's why I really wanted to mention it to you all today. If you have someone within your company that you think might be a good fit, perhaps someone you've recruited new to the area, that you are a little bit concerned about whether they're going to remain in the community and find that attachment, this would be a great program to get them into. So you can visit the Chamber website, or you can talk to Morgan and Josh or myself from our team, and we'd be happy to get you more information on it. And there are handouts out at the front registration table as well. Okay, so with that, let's get started with today's event. Each of our educational institutions will have approximately 10 to 15 minutes to share highlights from their own programming and initiatives. Although they have an incredible amount of amazing programs, we did have to find some limits on what they could share today. So really the programs and initiatives you're going to hear today focus on talent attraction and retention, as well as support of the local economic development, along with those collaborative opportunities between each other. So I have to give a big round of thanks to all of our presenters today for taking the time to participate in this. I know you all have incredibly busy schedules, but I think this is a really meaningful event for our community. So of course, we have Dr. Chris Himsel with the Vigo County School Corporation. We have Dr. Michael Godard with Indiana State University. Dr. Leanne Crooks, Ivy Tech Community College. We have Rob Coons with Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, and Brennan Randolph with St. Mary of the Woods College. So a round of applause for our presenters today. All right, and with that, I will hand it over to Dr. Himsel for our first presentation.
So first off, good morning. We want to thank Kristen and Josh, and of course, Morgan, and the rest of the Chamber staff for helping make this all possible. And thank you to the Chamber and the other members of the Chamber for giving us this opportunity. I also need to thank the North High School administration, in particular Steve Joseph and Scott Moore, the IT department with Eric Grisham and Doug Miller, and of course our food services for the refreshments out there with Tom Lentis, Paula Vaughn, and the rest of their staff for helping make this possible and doing the behind the scenes work. And also thank you to Katie Shane and Catherine Hill for all the stuff that they do in the background to make sure that I showed up here today at the right time. Also want to take some time to thank our board members. I think we have a couple of board members who are here today. Thank you to Rick and Amy Lohr, who I think is here. Is there any other board members? And Stacy. Thank you, Stacy. Sorry, with the lights, it's harder to see. Thank you for being here. And then also thank you to our administrators, our staff, and our faculty who are here as well, and for all that they've been doing to make sure that everything that we're going to talk about this morning happens, as well as get us ready for school. When I first started being a superintendent back in 2008, starting school on August the 14th was considered one of the early starts. Now that we're getting ready to start with students on August the 14th, we found out that we're one of the last in the state to begin. Today is a big day in Marion County for first days of school, as it has been for the last couple weeks. So what we're going to work on today, well, I also need to mention there has been lots of work that's been going on. We're going to go over a little bit of our student achievement data, a little sampling. I'm going to mention a little bit about the collaborations that we have with the other people here on the stage, but I'm not going to go in a lot of detail because I don't want to steal their thunder if they want to elaborate it on it further and give them the opportunity to do so. And then also, as we've been communicating with the Chamber and community members throughout the year, what are we doing to move towards continuous school improvement and give an update on those kinds of things. So as we get started and we go over this, we want to point out some things that are happening in our school corporation. I've mentioned on many different occasions, there are lots of good things happening throughout our community. Our job is to figure out how to make it more systemic instead of just pockets. But there is really good stuff to be building upon. Our students last year, predominantly seniors, but a few of the juniors, earned over 10,000 college credits. Over 10,000 college credits. Our senior class is comprised of approximately 900 students. The thing that's most significant about that is that high schools determine the high school credit part of it, but colleges determine whether or not they get the college credit. So there is an outside entity making sure that we keep things at a high level from that standpoint. The AP test, some of you may be familiar with advanced placement. That is also a way for students to earn college credit. Nearly half of our senior class engaged in at least one AP course. Many of them engaged in more than one. Of those 428 students, they engaged in 936 AP tests, and nearly 2/3 of those tests had a score that was eligible for earning college credit. For some context, in my former district, it was about 70%. So our numbers are right there with my former district, which is more of a suburban school, something that Terre Haute South, Terre Haute North, and West Vigo should be very proud of. In to go even further, 40 of our students earned an academic honors diploma, 100, technical honors, 154 earned an academic honors, and something that is relatively new, and we've noticed a spike in our data here since the last graduation requirement change about 6 or 7 years ago, and I want to get into the other part. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But we have seen a jump in the number of students who have earned both a technical academic honors and an academic honors. That has jumped to 56. That number used to be in single digits on a regular basis for schools throughout the state. And we've seen a significant increase in the last two graduating classes. On the CTE side, our CTE students have earned over 5,000 college credits. 264 have earned industry certified certifications. And we have partnerships in workplace learning with 35 local businesses. That is on top of internships. Internships and workplace learning experiences are two different things. Workplace learning experiences have some direct things that tie to Indiana academic standards that allow them to earn different kinds of credit than they earn through an internship. And it's a little bit tighter in terms of what needs to be done. If there's any businesses that would like to have a conversation about those workplace learning experiences, I'm sure that Doug Dillion would be willing to sit down and have a conversation with you so we can talk about how we can get our kids engaged in those opportunities. We also want to point out that our adult education program has been doing so well and beating state averages to the point where we got some additional monies to put towards helping those students through those programs. In terms of getting kids ready for experiences, we had over 1,000 fourth graders go through the NEET experience, and that stands for the New Emerging Applied Technologies. Usually have to have Doug tell me that. We had over 900 seventh graders participate. We also had over 200 students participate in summer programming related to CTE. And then we've also helped our community partners in surrounding areas with the NEET experience through the trailer that they go out and provide those experiences. The reason that's so key is because since 1996, the state has eliminated some of those feeder CTE programs out of elementary and middle school, and there isn't an opportunity for kids to experience some of those hands-on activities. And we know that in our community, there are many jobs that are available in those hands-on activities. The NEET experience helps them get exposed to those things so that eventually when they come to high school, they have an opportunity to know what it is that we offer in terms of career pathways and those credentials. And we're taking that one step further in one of our partnerships with Ivy Tech, in that next summer, we will be able to expand the NEET experience from a one-day experience to a summer one-week experience between the 7th and 8th grade year. And the reason we're choosing that particular school year is because in 8th grade, the kids fill out their first high school schedule. And we want to make sure that those 8th graders have as much information as possible about all the options that we have available to us at Terre Haute North, Terre Haute South, and West Vigo high schools. So in terms of partnerships, there are lots of partnerships, and they're going to talk about partnerships amongst themselves. But we're very blessed to have Education Pathways as a way of helping address the teacher shortage in partnership with Indiana State University, as well as other dual credit options. This past summer, we moved our summer school onto the Indiana State campus, created Indiana State Connections. And what that allowed us to do is Indiana State always had a summer program, as we did. By merging them together on the same campus, we increased the number of students who were able to take advantage of both of those programs. It was a much bigger number. Not only that, but we had kids who did not know what it was like to be on a college campus, walking a college campus every day for a couple of weeks. Our Indiana College Core and Early College High School programs are in partnership with Ivy Tech. This allows students to earn basically those freshman and sophomore core classes while they're in high school, so that when they get to college, they can immediately jump into some of their major types of courses, which helps accelerate, get them ready for the workforce or life after education, formal education, as well as possibility of dual majors, possibility of doing study abroad, opening up all kinds of opportunities for our kids. We also have many career pathways and dual credit options with Ivy Tech. Many of those are through the CTE programs, but not all of them. We have the NEET Summer Learning Program in partnership with Ivy Tech that we just talked about. We're also very proud of the robotics team partnerships that we have with Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology and the mentoring that is done by Rose-Hulman students for our high school students. And this coming year, we are expanding that program to also dip down into our middle schools and our elementary schools so that we can start sparking the interest of science, technology, engineering, and math at earlier ages and getting them involved in those programs. We've also supported and participated in the Lilly Grant planning with both St. Mary of the Woods College as well as Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. And then we also do facility sharing with all of our higher ed partners in some way, shape, or form, in particular with Indiana State, Rose-Hulman, and St. Mary of the Woods. So what are we doing to get better? How are we approaching that aspect of things? Well, in short, what we've been doing is we have upgraded what we're doing from a school improvement process. Very much like the business world with the Six Sigma, where it's basically continuous learning every day. And how do we get better today than we were yesterday? We're implementing the high reliability schools model. We are addressing our current and future staffing needs in this era of teacher shortage. We're rectifying the past neglect that has occurred to our facilities. We're modernizing our communications, and we're transforming the way we go about policy development. We're going to go into a little bit more detail. For those of you unfamiliar with the high reliability schools training, and that's where many of our administrators are right now, and I will be joining them just as soon as we finish here, because we're going through training for high reliability schools. There are 5 levels. The first level is to make sure that we are creating a welcoming environment that is collaborative in nature to work with our families and our students for success. It's to guarantee that we have effective teaching happening in each day, in each classroom, which means how do we come up with systemic professional development instead of hit and miss professional development? How do we make sure our evaluation processes are feedback oriented for continuous growth and improvement instead of just evaluative purposes for positive and negative? A guaranteed and viable curriculum. How do we make sure that every one of our students is accessing the curriculum that's needed to be successful at the next grade level? If you look at the Indiana academic standards, there are hundreds of little bullet points that we're supposed to expose our kids to. What we're trying to do is narrow that down to what are the most essential to be successful at the next grade level and make sure that we are concentrating on those so that we do create that success, but at the same time, making sure that our kids are exposed to the other standards. But we all know that there are certain standards that have a higher priority than other standards. And we need to make sure all of our kids have access to that. Our standards referencing reporting and competency-based education is a down the road thing, but how do we get to the point where time is not our restriction? How do we get to the point that we explain what an A or a B or a C means and what does that actually mean kids have learned that's behind that? That's some work that's going to take down the road. Until we get the first 3 levels done, it really isn't important that we work on those last 2 levels. The first 3 levels are essential for every single one of our kids in order to be successful. In terms of what we've done thus far, our safe, supportive, collaborative culture, we have provided some professional development for our principals on how to better serve an increasingly diverse population. In the process of creating a systemic, and we are in the process, correction, sorry, my eyes jotted down. Training provided to assist our children who have experienced traumatic experiences. We can't take away what's already been done to them, but we can change the way we support them to make sure that their concentration is on learning. In terms of the effective teaching, we've implemented some training to help our teachers better be able to teach reading, put more tools in their toolbox. There's been Orton Gillingham training, the science of reading that you may have heard about in the newspaper. We had hundreds of teachers go through that training this summer. We continue to put more tools in the tool bags of our teachers so that they can reach as many kids as possible. And we're in the process of creating that systemic process to make sure that all of our teachers, from beginning teachers to becoming an expert teacher, we have a systemic way to help them get there. And then on the viable curriculum, we have created and implemented work with BCTA so that we can start those teams this fall and start taking a look at those standards and narrowing down the focus to make sure that all of our kids have access. In terms of making sure that we address competition for talent. 2 years ago, our starting pay was $40,000. And if you took a dot at Cloverdale and drew a circle around 30 to 45 minutes, circle around in Terre Haute and circle around 30 to 45 minutes, thinking about 30 to 45 minutes is what some people are willing to drive in order to attend their job. There are 47 Indiana school districts inside that area. We were 46 out of 47. The only school district that paid less than us at the beginning was Shakamak. Last year, we engaged in some very meaningful dialogue. It wasn't easy. We only have a certain amount of money to distribute for salaries, and we were able to raise that starting pay to $46,500 last fall and to $48,000 this fall. Why is that significant? We have had some buildings with some positions that have not gone filled for multiple years. Some of those positions were filled as early as April this past spring, in large part because our salaries are more competitive, as within that same 47 school districts, we moved to 12 in that group. I will warn that some of that will drop off and fall back a little bit because some of those 47 school districts were on a one-year contract and are going to negotiate again this year. And I would suspect that 1 or 2 or 3 of them, especially the ones closer to Indianapolis, might bump up a little bit higher. We've eliminated the provision where we no longer acknowledge the previous experience that a teacher has. And that's an issue that we still need to go back and address with some of our other teachers. That is not lost. We know that we have work to do. VCTA knows we have work to do. We're going to continue to work on that aspect of things so that we don't lose talents that have come here and have done a great job for us. We've implemented significant increases to our starting wages among our classified staff as well, especially among our education assistants who work in our classrooms on a daily basis and help kids with reading or help our special education students, to make sure that we have talent in those positions as well as stability, so that once we train some people, they stick with us and we continue to reap the benefits of that training. To help us increase the number of potential candidates, we've engaged in a grant that allows us to have a residency program. For many, many years, in fact, forever, we student teach. We do an internship, much like people do in the business world, but in the teaching field, we never got paid for it. No stipend, nothing for that. There is a grant that now allows us to have a small stipend for student teachers, and that expands that student teaching experience from 10 weeks to a full year. And with a full year teaching experience, they are much more prepared and ready to go back into the workforce and help us out. We just were able to go from 6 student teachers a year ago to 15 this coming year. Every one of our elementary schools will have one of those teacher residents. Why is that so significant? We were able to hire 5 of the 6 people this last time. We continue to work on building relationships outside of Vigo County. We loved our partnership with Indiana State, but with a teacher shortage, we have to expand beyond just our local roots to make sure that we are finding as much talent as we can. In terms of rectifying our past neglect of our buildings, we all know there was a referendum. We know that it failed. Our community said what we planned wasn't good enough, wasn't something that they could support. And so we have engaged in a facility study that this time not only updates the facility study so that it represents post-COVID market conditions, but also gets more feedback from our employees and our community, and those things will be forthcoming. At the beginning of the year, we'll be focused on our employees, and in the middle of the year, we will get more feedback from our community to make sure that the next plan is something that our community had a say in. We're modernizing our communications. It's to make it more accessible. It's to streamline it so it's easier for our parents to understand what's going on. If you have a child, you probably have 4 or 5 or 6 apps that you download to communicate with your teachers. With parents, where you only need to do one, and all of our teachers will have that mechanism, and all of our teachers will have access to that mechanism to be able to communicate. In terms of updating our processes for policy, our policy committee meets in public. We have changed from a Neola perspective, which is a national organization, to a local state perspective. So our policies are locally attributed. And we're doing that to where we go over every single policy in the plan, in the current policy book, and we are updating our policies so that we have a way of keeping them up to date into the future by our partnership with Church, Hiddle, and Interim. Yes, I did say that test scores don't matter. I did. The reason is because the I learn does not tell us what kids know, and it doesn't tell us what kids don't know. It compares kids to other kids. These two individuals who are up here on the screen are average. They don't necessarily look average. They are when you take all the different components in place. That also plays out in education. Standardized tests are based on the antithesis of squared average. And then you set a cut score wherever you want to dictate how many people pass the test. We need test information from standardized tests to tell us what kids know and what kids don't know. We don't need to tell us how they compare to other kids. We know that kids who live in neighborhoods who don't get access to a library in their own house, who struggle to have meals met, who struggle for health care, who struggle to go on vacations and field trips, are not going to do as well as those families that is second nature and an everyday part of their life. We already know that. We don't need a test to tell us that. That's the reason why West Lafayette, Brownsburg, and Carmel are always the three highest scoring school districts. We already knew that. We could have told you that before it began. Here's what I know. In 1987, when the state testing began, 50% of the population was above average and 50% was below. I can tell you that 50 years from now, the state test results will be that 50% of the population was above average and 50% was below. We also know that kids don't learn in a linear way. Every kid doesn't respond to the same instructional strategy in the same way. It's more like the one at the bottom, which brings us to the point, we can't go back to what's been done in the past. Our focus is on the future. Our focus is on what can we control and how do we move forward instead of dwelling on and worrying about what was done in the past. Because what we know is that education is not a series of 13 one-year events. It's one 13-year event. They're all interconnected. And we can even make that argument that it's actually P through 16, and it's a much greater opportunity for kids and interconnected, which is the reason why we have so many partnerships. So hopefully this has been helpful in understanding where we are. We also, I was told I needed to do this, so sorry, John. This Saturday at the county fairgrounds, we have a star in our making. We are very proud of Richard. We're very proud to say that he's part of the Vigo County School Corporation family. We are sending him off. So on Sunday, he leaves for Pasadena for the America's Got Talent. He's represented our community well. We're proud of that. We're having a send-off, and we encourage all of you to come here and pass that information along. There are some prizes that are going to be involved, and we're positive that people will be very excited about what's going to happen as we let Richard know that we're proud of him and we wish him the best. And we have 1 minute and 30 seconds. And when we are done, Dr. Godard from Indiana State is going to take over.
It's just a small town guy. It took a minute.
This is what I'm going to do for you because I love you.
And while Dr. Godard gets ready and we get his slides up there, thank you to Channel 2. Channel 2 is the ones who put that video together.
I will not sing today, so you don't have to worry about that. No live renditions or anything like that. That would be too hard to follow. But I do remember watching that performance, and what a great way to celebrate Terre Haute, but certainly the talent that's here. Well, it's my pleasure to be able to hopefully navigate through this.
You can pull the PDF up and it should be the slide deck.
Okay.
We'll get that.
Okay. Well, while that's happening, let me just say thank you, Chris. And you know, one of the things that I've already been able to do in my short time here in the community, although it has already been about 2 months or so since I've been fortunate to take on the role as the 13th president of Indiana State University, is to talk to my colleagues here about additional ways that we can continue to partnership and have collaborations. And as Chris mentioned, when we talk about that, P through 16, how we create an educational ecosystem, certainly in our county, in Vigo County, but throughout our region, will be critically important for the health and well-being of our community, but certainly the health and well-being as we look at our economic impact that we can have through that educational ecosystem. So it's my pleasure to be a part of that. Okay, here we go. Beautiful picture of our campus, and if you haven't been on our campus recently, encourage you to come and visit, and we'd love to host any of you at any time to be able to navigate through some of our buildings and see everything that we have to offer. Part of what we're focused on, and what I'm really focused on here in not just the near future, but for the long term, is to really focus on those community collaborations. We have several, certainly new partnerships with the school corporation here, but looking for other partnerships so that we can continue to ensure that every student, whether or not they're in preschool, 8th grade, 12th grade, going on to college at any one of our respective institutions, that all of them have an individualized pathway to be successful in life and work. And so we're committed to that at Indiana State. Some of the things that we've been able to accomplish are because of all the partnerships, and a lot of those individuals are in this room. I'll just highlight a couple of those examples. Our early childhood center, that renovation is going to be possible because of the Lilly Endowment, Ready 2.0, and the ARPA funding that was provided through both the county and the city. So that renovation of our Chestnut building, which I'll show you a picture of here in just a little bit, is going to allow for now that early childhood center to be adjacent to our College of Education, and also be able to increase that capacity as well from about 85 students right now to 145 students to provide more childcare opportunities throughout the community. That project is projected to be completed a year from now, summer 2025. The Donahue Day, that is really something that started as a campus-wide cleanup in 1976 and now has really transformed into a true partnership across the community, with our new students being able to have that sense of belonging right away, not only on our campus, but again, throughout the community. So on August 19th, a majority of our new first-year students with some of our other student leaders will devote a half a day to be able to work with some of our community partners, about 25 community partners, to be able to provide that type of service. So one of the things that we wanted to highlight with that was the Million Meal Movement, and the fact that now this year, as we move into another year of this type of service, we'll surpass the benchmark of 500,000 meals being packed for that Million Meal Movement. And a lot of those go to the school corporation, they go to other services throughout the community, and certainly our own food pantry. The Experience Terre Haute event, again, this is our second year for this Experience Terre Haute, and this is really an involvement fair that we have. But what we want to do is we want to include the community as a whole. And it's the involvement in the community that's going to matter for us, especially as we talk about additional experiential learning opportunities for our students during the time at Indiana State. And engaging with you all as partners in that is something that we're committed. Right now, I think from the numbers that I got from Nancy Rogers, and Nancy is here somewhere right now, but there she is. And so I think we have about 11 businesses that have currently registered and about 16 nonprofits, but it's not too late, right, Nancy? If you are interested in being a part of that Experience Terre Haute event with our students to demonstrate the types of opportunities that are throughout the community, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Nancy and her team. Our Indiana youth programs and on our campus, again, that funding is through a grant through the Lilly Endowment as well. And the goal is to get K-12 students on campus. And again, as Chris mentioned, to help them start thinking about college in their future. So we have about 1,125 unique campers this summer that came to Indiana State University. And again, Chris mentioned our collaboration in that regard as well. Our other opportunities here in terms of what's new, some of these things you've heard about, I'm new, right? But we also have some other new individuals as well. Nathan Christensen, our new athletic director, has joined us now. And we have a few other individuals that will be joining us if they have not already done so. We have a new baseball coach, we have 2 new basketball head coaches, and we're in the midst of searching for our next head softball coach as well. In terms of other opportunities that we've had, Engage Indiana, we were able to host the IBJ here just a couple of weeks ago at the Hulman Center. Certainly the Chamber Dinner, Terre Haute Pride, Power of Math and Reading Summits, our Principal Leadership Institute, which we just hosted, oh gosh, about a week and a half or so, and I was able to go and welcome that group to our campus as well. And again, other things that we have in terms of capital improvements that will enhance not only our campus, but we hopefully will enhance the entire community as well. A couple of those are listed here. The Chestnut Building I already mentioned, but also the Bailey College of Engineering and Technology. This is a project, this is the building right now. This is a project that we're just initiating right now, a $66 million project that we received state funding for. And this project will really revitalize this building, but also provide more and more opportunities for our students to have those experiential learning opportunities. So this is just a rendering of what that'll look like, and just a couple of pictures for you to see the way in which the building will be transformed. It'll also add about 25,000 square feet onto this facility as well. Another picture of that. So we're looking forward to that. The fencing's going up right now, and we're in the process of starting that project. Like I said, that is about a 2-year project just because of the scope and size. So this is the Chestnut Building. And again, just to kind of re-emphasize the fact that with this change in this building, we are going to be able to not only strengthen our outreach to the community, but also provide more opportunities. Again, without the partnership that we had with Ready 2.0, with the ARPA funding, and certainly with Lilly, this would not have been possible. So a true community partnership with this. This is just the schematic that demonstrates the outside to the left of what that looks like, and then the schematic of the inside of the building. But you can see a lot of thought was put into this in terms of play areas for the children who are going to be there, and easy access for parents to drop off and pick up their children as well. The other thing is the adjacency to this, to the Vigo College of Education, will allow for our students in early childhood education to have easy access to this facility to, again, be able to engage through that educational process so that they can then be more prepared to go on to their careers in early childhood education after graduating from Indiana State. So some of the local and regional side of things that we wanted to highlight today just a little bit is related to the fact of our impact. And a lot of this is the economic impact side of things that was mentioned that we wanted to focus on. We graduate nearly 3,000 students a year. So over the past 3 years, over 8,900 students have graduated from Indiana State University. Of that, one thing to keep in mind, and one thing that we're held to in terms of our performance funding formula in higher education, is the retention of talent to the state of Indiana. And for us, looking at the retention of that talent within Terre Haute, but certainly within the Wabash Valley itself. And about 64% of our students who graduate from Indiana State University remain in the state of Indiana. We have a 93% placement rate after 6 months for our students having jobs within their respective fields, and our average starting salary of about $62,000 for that. I think when we think about that economic development, the retention of that talent matters. And if we look at that and we talk about education and how we try to meet the needs of our school corporations, about 83% of our graduates from our College of Education remain in the state of Indiana. So many of the individuals who come to be educators through our educator prep programs remain in the state of Indiana as teachers. This just further demonstrates, again, Indiana State's launching in terms of our series of initiatives to retain and ensure that we do have that continuous enrollment. We have robust partnerships with many, and I just listed a few here in terms of the top 5 employers of our graduates. But we also understand that there's more opportunities out there. I'd love to have further conversations with any of you in terms of ways in which we can scaffold up the experiential learning opportunities for our students early and often. The more we can get our students engaged in a variety of different industry and businesses that you all are leaders in, the more we can scaffold that up, meaning that when they're freshmen on our campus, they have opportunities to learn from you. We want our students to be job ready when they graduate, to walk into your businesses and be able to contribute from day one. We're in the business of providing you all an educated workforce. And so we need to learn from you on ways in which we can improve on that. That could be through our curriculum revision process that we do on a routine basis to ensure that we're relevant. But please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or to anyone on my team. Chris Olson is here, our provost as well. He'd love to have that conversation in terms of ways in which our academic programs can partner more directly with your businesses as well. So expanding the experiential learning, I said, is a major emphasis. Also focusing on ways in which we can have more of that public-private partnership and creating more opportunities for that in community engagement through our athletic events as well. Again, I encourage you, if you haven't already met Nathan, our new athletic director, please reach out to him, and he's very proactive. He might have already reached out to you, and I appreciate that about him, but ways in which we can have more engagement with our athletics teams as well. We know that that gives certainly a sense of pride for the institution, but we're hopeful that that gives you a sense of pride for our Sycamore athletic teams, and your support matters with that. What we do could not be possible without partnerships. I'm so thankful I've had an opportunity to meet and sometimes even visit some of the other campuses here in Terre Haute with our higher education partnerships. One of those certainly is Ivy Tech, and we've had several opportunities to continue to partner with Ivy Tech here in Terre Haute, but also statewide as well. Joint childcare initiatives, some of those I just mentioned. Our Pathway to Blue partnership as well is one that I wanted to highlight because it really allows for students who perhaps didn't think that a 4-year college degree would be attainable for them. It gives them that individualized pathway to see that they can achieve that. As a first-generation college student myself, I understand that reaching down and pulling someone up matters and not just pushing people along. So having that hand out and allowing individuals to understand that they can, getting them on our campuses early and often to see what could be, having partnerships with Leanne and her team matters as well. So anything we can do to enhance that, we want to be a part of that in a very robust way. With that, I will end and turn it over to my colleague, Leanne. So thank you.
Thank you. We are very excited about the partnership with ISU in the past and look forward to continued partnerships. And I'll talk a little bit more about all of our partnerships across the panel that we have here. So before I dive in a little bit into where we are at Ivy Tech, I thought it might be good for me to back up a little bit and explain Ivy Tech to those of you that might not really understand the Ivy Tech system. Indiana is a little bit unusual within the United States as far as how we are structured. Ivy Tech is a statewide system, and we are one of 19 campuses within that system. Our counterparts in many of the other states, community colleges compete. And we are fortunate in the fact that Ivy Tech has might not be fortunate. Ivy Tech has 19 of me across the state. And so my counterparts and I, we work together versus competing. And what that allows us to do then is really focus in on the service area and make sure that we're making local impact and developing partnerships with the local partners in our community. So for us, our service area goes up to Vermilion County, down to Sullivan, over to Putnam. And so Clay Park are all in there, and then Illinois is fair game. So we can branch over into Illinois as far as we want to. So the power of the Ivy Tech system comes into play, but also when we work together, there are things that take a little bit more time. And so one of the things I want to highlight is where we hope to be going with our campus, and that is reimagining what our campus actually looks like. We are in the process of working through our system, and we'll go to our state board next week to get approval for us to be the #1 project in the Ivy Tech system to go to the state legislature for approval of a new campus. So it would reimagine what we look like. For any of you who've ever been on the Ivy Tech campus, when you come into the campus, it looks a little confusing, and we understand that. 641 changed us a little while, many years ago, and redesigned how our campus looked. So for us, we have a building that was built in 1967, another in 1985, and then a 2004 building. This new project is a $67 million project that will really revamp everything that we have on that campus. We have the 2-story building that's a that was built in 2004 would remain. And this is what you would see when you first come into campus, a revamped look. The pointed area of that is facing the drive as you come in. And so that would be reorienting everything that we have when you enter the campus. But one of the things I want to point out is the 2-story building built in 2004 would remain and will be a total revamp for health sciences and nursing. Our nursing program is actually 2 miles south of us in the industrial park, so that doesn't exactly create collaboration between our health sciences programs and nursing. So this building would be all of our health sciences and nursing programs, and we have 9 health sciences programs. So we are really serving the local community in the healthcare space. And this will create lab environments that will appeal to the students and will be exactly what they see out in industry. I would be remiss if I didn't say that our faculty are the very best faculty, and they are producing graduates for our local companies and industries that are top notch. But we know that the spaces that our students are learning in need to be better, and that is what this project would allow us to do. So we're really excited. We just have one hurdle with the state trustees next week. I feel confident about that. So I will be sending text out when we hit that hurdle, and then we will be going to the legislature this spring. So that timeline, just to give you some understanding, the spring budget typically closes in the legislature in the end of April, and then we would start construction. We would hope to be, if everything goes perfectly, hope to be in the new buildings in 2028. So I indicated that our service area really allows us to focus in on the local area. And that is West Central Indiana. So I want to talk a little bit about the local impact that we are making. So this is kind of Ivy Tech, Terre Haute by the numbers. You will see here that our head count currently last year was 8,604. My number looks a little small on here. But really what I want to point out is the number of students that come from Vigo County, the number of students that are coming from our other county areas, and then you will see that we do serve some students that are outside of our county, our service area. One of the reasons for that is we have some specialized programs that are only offered at certain campuses. And then we also have programs that really are just a draw. So every one of our campuses has a nursing program across the state. I'm very excited to say that we have the #1 two-year nursing program in the state of Indiana. And so for us, that draws students in because they want to come to the Terre Haute program. So we do serve some students here. Our goal is once they are not out, we do serve some students outside our area. Our goal once they come here is to keep them here. And so we work at that with partnerships with our local industries and for instance, Union Hospital, we have an apprenticeship program with the goal that those students, once they start working at Union Hospital during their education, they will stay there as well. So those partnerships are extremely important. Dr. Himsel mentioned dual credit. Dual credit is a huge area for us. And it's the mission of Ivy Tech to serve students, to serve all students, and to reach down into the high schools in our service area and to deliver dual credit and dual enrollment courses. So you will see here in our service area what that means for students and families. The number of students that we had complete a credential, which Dr. Himsel mentioned, the Indiana College Core, which is 30 credit hours that students are coming out with. Many of those students actually end up at our partners when they leave high school. Some of them come to us, some of them come to our partners, but what we're doing is we are giving those students an opportunity to understand that they can go to college, that they are college ready, and the partnerships with our high schools to make sure, as Dr. Himsel said, that we're delivering at the college level curriculum to those students so that they do know, I did complete that college course and I can do it as I leave high school. But really what I want to point out is just in our service area alone, the $4.4 million that was saved for our families through dual credit. That is a huge number. And what we do is we provide those numbers to each one of our high schools so that they can message that to parents. But sometimes parents don't understand what that means and what that savings is. So I would encourage you all to share that message of the opportunities that students need to be taking in the high school environment. Whoops, click too fast. The credentials awarded, we work on what we call a stackable degree process. And really that was designed for multiple reasons. One is so that we can show students that they can they can obtain a credential and that gives them a win and they can move on to the next credential. We also have those stackable levels because many times we're working with industry and one level is enough. Or we work with them and they have employees that come to us and they meet one credential and then they go back to work and then they come back to us for another credential. So you'll see here in our last graduation in May, we awarded 742 certifications. Then that stacks to a technical certificate. We awarded 680 and ultimately an associate degree of 504. I did break it out by the schools. We have 7 schools and you'll see here health sciences, which I said we have 9 health sciences programs. That is our largest school. When you couple that with nursing, we definitely have a very large footprint in the healthcare space. But we also, you'll see there then advanced manufacturing engineering, that is our second largest. That is serving all of our manufacturing industry with high tech skills for those companies. So K-14 and beyond, I should change that to P, because we are talking beyond, earlier than kindergarten. And then I say beyond because these partnerships that we have with the higher ed institutions and our K-12 system are critical to our success, but also they're critical to the success of our community. So I want to talk just a little bit about those partnerships, the transfer opportunities. So you saw on the ISU presentation that we are transferring students obviously to them. Many times that is very common because we have the partnerships here in our local community. The good thing about Ivy Tech and that developing that partnership is once we develop that strong partnership, then our counterparts across the state have an easy feeder system into a transfer program as well. I think that's particularly true with St. Mary's, where St. Mary's might not have been on the radar across the state for the other Ivy Techs. When we develop that partnership opportunity of that transfer, then that allows students across the state to transfer to St. Mary the Woods as well. So those transfer partnerships are critical for our students. We have transfer days on our campus so that we show the students the opportunities for transfer to institutions. But not all of our students will transfer. Many of our degree programs are designed specifically for careers in our community. So for instance, our advanced manufacturing programs, many of those are robotics, our advanced automation robotics program, definitely tailored to go into industry. However, we make sure that we do have transfer opportunities should the opportunity need to arise. So if someone goes out into the workforce and they're working in the manufacturing space and then they want to move up into an engineering position, for instance, we have transfer programs designed for that. So we are very intentional with our partners to make sure that happens. Our summer support track is something that many might not know about, but right now we just finished up our summer term with 200 guest students. And what that allows is when students come back to Vigo County and they want to stay on track with their education, many come to us for a guest course. That allows them then to go back to their four-year institution in the fall a little bit ahead. So maybe they don't have to carry such a heavy load in the fall and the spring. It allows them to have more, that was mentioned, maybe travel abroad opportunities. It gives them space in their curriculum to allow them to do some extra things. So we're always available to do those guest courses because they seamlessly transfer back to the institution. And then finally, we have the launch pad to future education, which is the stackable degrees. What I want to point out are the four pictures here. I'm not going to go into the videos, but I want to highlight just a little bit because I think each one of these videos, which are available on our YouTube site, you see there, at Ivy Tech WV, each one of these pictures is references one of our graduates in May. And I think that each of the four of them kind of tell the story of Ivy Tech. The first one is a story about a student who is a dislocated worker. So she worked in our community, the company closed. Very common then that we work with our local Work One partners and identify those dislocated workers. They come back to us, they skill up, get a degree, and then we move them back into the workforce, into careers that are available to them. The second one is a student from Gary. So most of our students do come from our service area. And the good thing is 92% of our graduates stay in the service area. But we do have students who come to us from other areas. This student wanted a fresh start, came to us from Gary, and our goal then is to keep her here once she graduated. The third one is someone who is employed in manufacturing. He came to us to upskill because he was basically an operator on a line, so he wanted to upskill. So he went through one of our manufacturing programs, and he is now transferring to Indiana State for engineering. And then our last one was a high school student and then had dual credit and then also came to us for courses, and he will be joining Rose-Hulman this fall. So that really kind of gives you an array of the opportunities that we provide students. And as I transition to Rose-Hulman's presentation, I want to highlight our final partnership. And that is one that just began this past year, and it is with Rose-Hulman. It came out of a grant opportunity that Rob will share a little bit more about the competitive level of that, what that opportunity was. But very exciting that it allowed us to, our students and faculty, to partner with students and faculty at Rose-Hulman. 5 of our students and 2 of our faculty worked with them, the Rose-Hulman team in a battery challenge. Our piece of the puzzle is to work from the manufacturing fabrication side, while Rose-Hulman is working on the engineering side. So Rob will explain a little bit more about the competitive level of that and who else is in that space. And it really elevates Terre Haute and the partnerships that are available in our community. So from Ivy Tech's perspective, we are your community partner. We work alongside all of you every day, but we also work alongside the partners here at this table. It's critically important to our success that we have these partnerships, and I thank each one of my counterparts at the table for those partnerships, and thank you all for being here today. Now I'm going to transfer to Rob. That was me.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? As you can see, we have quite a bit to share, and there's a lot of material, and part of the challenge has been just to kind of condense that into our little 15-minute blocks here. So we'll setting myself a timer here to see if I can stay on time. I think that I can. So thank you for being here. One of the things I wanted to do is first just start by thanking again the Chamber for taking leadership in putting this together. Being kind of the old timer on this panel, which is a little hard for me to admit, but being the old timer in terms of time here at Terre Haute, I've always felt that we had some amazing educational resources, and each one of them are highlighted in their own unique way, but there should be more collaborative opportunities. And as you've heard today and will continue to hear about, there are more opportunities like that. Along with that, I think for all of us, in a variety of ways, a healthy K-12 system is just critical to us, not only for generating potential students that come to our institutions, but when we recruit talented faculty and staff, Rose-Hulman recruits faculty from across the globe, and finding those individuals, then convincing them to move to Terre Haute and assuring them that we have a robust K-12 system is critical to our success as well. And so I really applaud the efforts that we're taking in our K-12 system to try to stabilize and strengthen it. And hopefully we can continue to find ways to be supportive of that in all our organizations. So just a few things to share about Rose. And some of you know some of these details, some of you don't. So just a couple of quick statistics. You know, engineers, mathematicians, and scientists love statistics, so I have to share a couple of those things. But total enrollment last fall was 2,250. That's relevant to us because our overall targeted total enrollment is 2,400, so we're on a path to do that. We've had a bit of a growth spurt in the last few years, and we're really on track to hit that goal here in the next couple of years, so really happy about that. This gives you a sense of how that splits out in terms of where students are from. I think the important point here is, for those of you that have been familiar with Rose-Hulman for quite some time, it is dramatically different today on campus than it was, say, 10 years ago, from a lot of different perspectives. One of those is diversity. We really have had a strong emphasis on trying to have a more diverse campus in a variety of ways. We're continuing to try to strengthen our percentages around female enrollment. In engineering nationally, female enrollment in engineering is about 22%. We're at 24. We'd like to be closer to 30, so we're continuing to work on that. But this gives you a little sense of where we are. And we are on target for our class this fall as well at this point. From a placement perspective, it's one of the hallmarks of Rose-Hulman all the years I've been here. One of the things we've been able to point proudly to and continue to able to do that is a 99% placement rate. There's always one or two students that, even though they've gone through the rigors of Rose-Hulman education for 4 years, still want to go home and sit in mom's basement rather than actually go to work. And we try really hard to get them to take a job or go to grad school or go into military leadership training. And there are always one or two that really just don't want to do that. So getting to 100% is tough, but we do track every single student as long as it takes. And so we've had a really nice track record there for a number of years. And you can see the average starting salary and the highest reported offer last year. You can probably guess what discipline that might have been. One of the things that's really changed in career services in the past decade in colleges and universities in particular, internships. And last year, over 90% of our graduates had at least one internship while they're here in the state of Indiana. 70% had 2 or more, and 30% of those graduates had 3 or more. Why that's significant is we've been having conversations with the state of Indiana, as a number of other schools have, about how do we retain more of our graduates in the state. And in our case, about 30% of our graduates stay in the state of Indiana, the rest go elsewhere for jobs and opportunities. We'd like that to shift. We'd like to be a bigger contributor to the number of successful graduates here in the state. But for us, the challenge is providing internship opportunities, because we find if our students have a good internship opportunity while they're here in the state with an Indiana company, they are much, much more likely to stay here after graduation. And so we've been having ongoing conversations with the state about how do we improve that ratio. A little bit about local impact. If you haven't seen our data in a while, the institution has grown a bit. So we have 252 faculty currently, 360 staff, total payroll there. Acreage, I just threw that in because it's interesting. If you've known a little bit about our history, we've been roughly 250 acres for a very long time. And then in 2017, we acquired the Hulman farm across the street from us and added 1,100 acres. So one of the big questions since we did that is, what does the institution plan to do with all that acreage? And one of the early concerns was we have plans to grow a huge new institution and dramatically increase enrollment. Part of what we sell at Rose-Hulman is a personalized, individualized experience in engineering education. It's one of the most expensive ways to do that in the world, and also we believe one of the most successful. And so our goal is to stay as a small institution, and that's why I mentioned earlier the overall enrollment of 2,400. So our planning around the property across the street has been on how do we utilize that to enhance the overall experience for Rose-Hulman students while they're here. And so we have a couple of things I'll share here in a moment that I think will help explain some of that. If you've driven by our campus recently, you've seen a new structure going up. Our campus, if you're familiar with it at all, it kind of hangs on the edge of a ridge and then drops off. So a lot of it isn't visible from US 40. This certainly is. It's a new residence hall. It's the first freshman residence hall we've built since the 60s. We have built a number of upper class halls, but what we're finding is more of our students actually want to stay on campus for all 4 years, and we're running out of capacity. So we have a waiting list to live on campus, which is kind of unique for many small schools as well. And so this building's under construction. Be ready for occupancy next fall, so the fall of 2025. 160 beds, freshman. It'll be a freshman hall. After that project's complete, then we'll be renovating the Speed Hall, which is right across. Rose-Hulman Ventures. I want to talk just a little bit about Ventures. It's been around since the 1999-2000 was the start of that program. Originally funded by the Lilly Endowment through a couple of major grants, and has had a variety of successes over the years. This gives you a little sense of the current activity. Overall operations are about $1.4 million. Get a sense of about 50 projects a year with a variety of companies, from very large companies to very small companies. So a lot of different variety. But our overarching goal has been providing experiences for students. And on average, we have about 150 interns that work through that program during the year. About 50 of those are full-time during the summer. The rest are during the year. We think there's some really nice educational opportunities, and data would bear that out in terms of the students who've been in those programs and then been placed. Their employers will really react positively to that experience. We'd like to grow that program. And one of the strategies we've had for over a decade now is to try to bring Ventures closer to campus. It's only a couple of miles away. And if we were a campus like IU or Purdue, that wouldn't be a big issue. But on a small campus like ours, it's a car ride. Many times it's hard to get students engaged in that during the academic year. So one of our plans is to move that program to campus. And as a part of that, this property that I mentioned earlier that we acquired, if you think about that as one large square, it's larger than a square mile. But the corner at State Road 46 and 42, we think that strip along State Road 42 has some opportunity for development in the innovation space. And our goal is, and we're currently underway in terms of planning, to move Rose-Hulman Ventures to that corner. For a couple of reasons. One of those is to provide better access for our students, so be closer to campus for our students and our faculty. But the other is we think Ventures can create a catalyst for some innovation work for the community. And so many of us, small private institutions in the state, have been patiently waiting for the Lilly Endowment to respond to a huge set of proposals that we've had opportunities for in this past few months. To fund some expanded activities, and part of that will, if we have good news there, will help us fund this. But our planning is moving Ventures there. Part of I mentioned the Lilly Endowment because part of their grant funding initiative included a requirement that you collaborate with other partners in the community. And so after quite a bit of work internally and in the community, we selected Union Health to partner with. And Union has committed to building a new facility adjacent to our Rose Ventures facility in concert with Indiana Joint Replacement. And you may ask, well, how does Indiana Joint Replacement add to or enhance the educational experience for Rose-Hulman students? And it's our belief, we've been doing some work with that group for quite some time. It's led by a successful Rose-Hulman alum who went on to get his medical degree and has built quite a practice in joint replacement. But we think there's some really nice opportunity for collaboration between Rose-Hulman Ventures and Indiana Joint Replacement, and also some really nice opportunity for our biomedical engineering students to get exposure at the undergraduate level, which is really somewhat unheard of at the undergraduate level. Most of the time, that kind of exposure doesn't happen until the graduate level, and so we're really pleased with that. So hopefully we'll have more to share here in just the next few days. This is an earlier rendering of what that facility might look like, but it will be along that corner. We continue to make enhancements there. So I think I'll have more detail here to share with the community here in the next week or so, a little more specific. Right now, our plans are to do groundbreaking at least on the first portion of that facility, the Ventures building, on October 3rd, which is our homecoming weekend. Homecoming weekend has a lot of activities, but one of those will be the celebration of groundbreaking and starting of this project. It's also our 150th anniversary this year, so homecoming will be quite a celebration for us on campus. The last thing I'd say about that at this point is there are also some really nice opportunities in terms of collaboration with the local community for economic development. And we're experimenting with a couple of different programs. One is called Stanford Biodesign. Stanford University is offering a program that we're engaging with them as a pilot to engage some of our faculty in actually experimenting with teaching innovation at the undergraduate level. And so if the Lilly funding comes to fruition, it will create an opportunity for us to have that pilot program there, which will be really phenomenal for our students and I think for the community. There's also more economic development opportunity, I think, around having Ventures co-located there. And we've got plenty of space to begin to think about developing more of an innovation campus along that State Road 42. So more to come there, but we really are excited about that. In terms of supporting K through 12, I mentioned earlier how critical that is for the success of our recruitment efforts. And there are a number of programs where we collaborate and or offer services to K through 12 students. We've had things on campus where Operation Catapult's been around for over 50 years, and it's a summer program that offers students an opportunity to get hands-on experience with what it's like maybe to be an engineer. And they spend about 2 weeks on campus. About 30% of the students that come to Operation Catapult end up matriculating to Rose. So it really has been a great recruitment tool for us, but it also creates exposure for students. The other programs that are a little newer are Project Select and Rose Power. I just want to mention those briefly because Project Select is focused on 10th and 11th graders who have some interest in STEM It's a shorter program, it's a week-long program, but it again creates opportunities for students that might have some inkling or interest in STEM education to have some real hands-on experience with faculty and student mentors in a program in the summer. And then Rose Power is similar to that. The real difference in Rose Power is its focus on young women. We have a couple of very talented female faculty who are very passionate about creating experiences for K through 12 students in STEM, and particularly young women, and developing their interest. And so the Rose Power program is similar in that regard and creates experiences for female students for a week-long program in the summer. So both of those programs are relatively new. In terms of working with Vigo County School Corporation, Dr. Himsel already mentioned our partnership with First Robotics, and we're really enjoying that. It's really a great experience for our students to mentor high school students and now beginning to experiment with a bit younger students as well. I mentioned earlier the innovation space. Our current planning includes some innovation space for practice space for robotics. So our hope is, as part of the new venture space, we'll have some room to actually have middle school competitions there and give them some practice space where, as they develop their ideas towards the larger competitions in the high school level. So really trying to think about ways in which we as a small institution can create experiences for our students, and also K through 12. And robotics is certainly one of those. The Rose STEM program is a program that's focused again on collaborating with the high schools, but basically focused on underrepresented students and females in particular. But we've had some success with that program in the last number of years working with Vigo County schools. And then Emerge is a similar program, a similar thought process, and a similar focus. That program is primarily with West Vigo students at this point. But we have a number of faculty that have those interests in K through 12. That's changed over the last several decades. I've been in higher education. When I first joined, it was made very clear to me that faculty felt that the K through 12 responsibility was someone else's responsibility, and we pick them up where they are. That mindset has changed dramatically. And I think it's been a really healthy change. And we have more and more of our faculty that are really in their classroom and in their work on our campus, but also have a passion for assisting with K through 12. And so we're continually looking for ways to try to benefit our local community and our students at the same time. The last thing on that slide, I think, is some technology sessions. We have one faculty member in particular that's really promoting coding and computer programming at very young ages, and has some real success with that, and has a couple of pilot programs with schools here in the local area. And then Leanne already mentioned the battery workforce competition. We're excited about that. That's a 3-year program. Argonne National Labs is funding that along with a partnership with Stellantis. And Rose-Hulman is one of 12 institutions in the country, the smallest institution, but one of 12 in the country that were selected to participate in this. So you'll be seeing more press and announcement about that over the course of the next couple of years. But it's a substantial program for a small school like Rose to be engaged in. And we're really happy that we're able to partnership with Ivy Tech to be involved in that as well. The last thing on this slide is mindful college connections. And that is something that Brennan's probably going to talk about a bit more. But in terms of collaboration, one of the things that, again, our friends at the Lilly Endowment have been stressing is for colleges in the state to find ways to collaborate themselves, to reduce costs, to manage costs, or provide more services to students. And this is one of those. So this is a collaborative grant between Rose-Hulman, St. Mary the Woods College, and DePaul University, providing counseling services, mental health counseling services on our 3 campuses. And the overarching goal has been to expand those services on our campuses and find ways to do that more economically. We're in the 3rd year of that grant, 5-year grant, having some real success with that, and really thrilled with that partnership. So those are just a few examples of how we're collaborating. I think I've stayed on time here and tried to keep us moving along. The last thing I've got to mention, though, is I didn't know I'd have to compete with a video from Richard in the beginning. Just so you know, there's also a Rose-Hulman alum who's in the finals, just as Richard is, but for a very different reason. Tyler Johnson, who I think is a 2016, I'm probably gonna screw that up, a recent graduate of Rose-Hulman, is one of the 5 founders of a drone company who is competing in the finals for a drone presentation. And if you had a chance to see that particular episode, it was pretty amazing. He did a drone show for us at our bonfire this past fall, and we'll be doing another one this year, but he's having phenomenal success. And we have our fingers crossed for him as well. So 2 representatives from Terre Haute regions with Terre Haute connections in America's Got Talent. So with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Brennan Randolph to wrap it up.
Rob, you left your phone over here. You want me to take the next call for you? Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I will add my appreciation to both the chamber and for all of you taking the time to be here and for making this event possible. You know, when you think about how we're fortunate and blessed in our community, I think there's a lot to be thankful for with the educational opportunities that are in front of you today with the 4 institutions and an excellent K-12 system that I know I'm very proud of, and hopefully you are as well. So I'll go ahead and jump into the presentation, considering I'm at the end of the line here before I hand it over to Kristen, and you're probably thinking I have a meeting I need to get to. So we will try to get through this as quickly as we can. I have this slide to really highlight the fact that we are just a number of days away from welcoming our new class that will arrive in a couple of Fridays, and we're expecting about 250 new students to march through this gate, and we welcome them right at the gate. It's a tradition that we've been able to do for several years now, and we're looking forward to that. That is the number of our traditional undergraduate students that will arrive at campus, and then on top of that, we'll have new students enrolling in our fully online and our graduate program. So we're pretty multi-layered institution and a lot of complexities in how we operate with the different credentials that we've been able to add and provide to our students over the years. Rob teed up Mindful College Connections very well, and I will just add a few pieces to it. Really, since the pandemic, the need for colleges and universities to provide a better service in regards to mental health needs of our students is a growing challenge. And it was really perfect timing when this grant opportunity arrived for our 3 institutions to be able to put resources on our campuses that we probably would not have been able to provide otherwise. So when you think about the average student today, they come to us with challenges that are very different and very unique. Things like being in a situation where they're struggling with homesickness or anxieties and countless other things. So we've been able to provide these resources on our campuses that has absolutely changed the ability to meet those needs and to positively impact retention of those students. So services like telehealth, individual counseling, psychiatric services, and a 24/7 crisis hotline have been able to be added to all 3 of our schools. And on our campuses, we also have a full-time clinical mental health counselor that's able to do one-on-one appointments, meet with students. Fortunately, our counselor is also an alum of the institution, so she knows us, she knows the community very well. And we have absolutely seen many situations where students were able to turn things around, get into a better place, and to retain into their program. So we're really excited about what this consortium will be able to do in the future. And really the goal, we're founding schools, Rose, the Woods, and DePaul. And the goal in the future is for other colleges and universities to be able to join this consortium to, again, as Rob said, be able to provide these services at the lowest cost possible, because of the partnership that's needed to provide this. We are able to do it more cost effectively. The other thing that the consortium has been able to provide is training, professional development for our staff and faculty that in some cases, the needs of our students and the changing needs of our students has really challenged them in the classroom and out of the classroom. So helping them to understand the needs or the signs and being able to help connect those students to our counseling center has absolutely been a game changer. And I speak for all 3 institutions in saying that a game changer for all of us. So we're really excited about what that will do for us in the future. In the last 3 months or so, we've been able to move the facility, and it's really set up in a typical format as you would expect for a counseling center to offer. We're also in a collaborative with both ISU, Ivy Tech, and other partners in working with the Rural Health Innovation Collaborative, or the RIC. The RIC is also, we're in partnership with Union Hospital. It's at Union Hospital. Many of you are probably aware of this facility. It's a very high quality SIM center that communities our size would typically not be able to see take place and be formed. And we've been able to be a partner in this RIC and be a member of the RIC now since the beginning of our RN to BSN, and then soon after that when we added the full-blown BSN program, or our nursing program. And our students are in the SIM Center. Frankly, my daughter has been in the SIM Center in the last few years. So I know firsthand from conversations at the dinner table what it looks like and the experiences that they've been able to get. And then we also hear about it because of the board position that the institution holds with the RIC. So this is a very valuable resource in our community. We have an excellent executive director that oversees the RIC. And really, as this resource grows in our community, I would expect that you will continue to see and hear the fruits of the labor that exists there. Positive happenings. This is a very easy slide to talk about, and I want to really reflect back to about 2015 when the institution announced the decision to become coeducational in the traditional campus undergraduate program. At that time, the enrollment across all three areas, the campus, traditional undergrad, online students, and our graduate students, was in the 700 range. And in the last fall, or in the last academic year, we served just over 1,400 students. So we've had about 30% growth in the last 5 years. But if you think about back to 2015, we have pretty much doubled the size of the institution since going co-ed. We've added several academic programs, 14 in just the last 2 years. And really another piece that has helped to grow the institution is the growth of our athletic programs. We moved from a USCAA affiliated program, which I always joke and say the rule book for USCAA would fit on a typical napkin, to an NAIA program, which really follows the strengths and the traditions of the institution very well, and what their values are as an athletic organization. So our programming, or our athletic programs, have grown tremendously over the years. We added a sprint football program, which has really got a lot of attention. The men's basketball program we added during the pandemic. We did not plan it that way, but that's the way it landed. And other athletic programs that we've added in recent years. And we've also been very successful. It was believed by some that maybe we would struggle to be successful in our athletics, but that has absolutely not been the case. So when we added the new residence hall 3 years ago, which is Les Bois, it's our first dining hall that the college owned / a apartment style residence hall. It's a 92-bed facility. We knew we were also going to have to bring in some of these other athletic programs strategically around the addition of that facility. And that was the reason we added sprint football, men's volleyball, all in the same year. In the last year or less, we are finding ourselves in a situation where the residence halls are tight. We've had to rethink how we utilize the facilities, which is all a good problem. When students are fighting over beds and rooms and you don't have enough parking, then you've sort of arrived in this business. And those are challenges that we've absolutely been facing. Other positive happenings to share with you. We were fortunate to receive Ready 1.0 funding and ARPA funding that has helped to improve and upgrade our equine facilities. We expect those equine facilities and the resources that have been able to be invested in to better support our community in a number of ways, and we're already starting with some of that programming. We also have celebrated recently 50 years of Woods Online. Now, the name of Woods Online has evolved over the years. You may understand that history. But we are very experienced in being able to deliver our programs at a distance or online. And we have a lot of resources and a lot of expertise in systems and processes to be able to do that very, very well. And I expect in the future, this will be an area where we continue to see growth. The last several years, we typically carry about 500 fully online undergraduate students and about another 300 graduate students that arguably you would say are online, although many of those programs do have residential requirements. And both of those areas I expect to continue to grow. One of our Lilly funded projects in recent years was our camp program. This is similar to what you've heard from other institutions in regards to having a summer program for high schoolers to earn credit hours for college, university. And we've been able to add this program. This summer was the second year we've run camp, which is challenging ambitions and maximizing potential. The 50 students that went through the program this year were really engaged, and we had a lot of success. And you can kind of see on the slide the different areas that we focus our programming on. And we're really excited about what this will do for the future and being able to provide another avenue for our students to be able to earn college, university credit hours while also being in high school and in a fun environment like we've been able to offer with camp. It's really interesting when you see the students finish and they're graduating, earning the hours, and we recognize them, and they're really engaged. And I think it's really opened eyes for those students to understand some of the comments you've heard from my colleagues, helping students to see that they have a path to pursue a college education. And this really helps our students to see that this is a possibility for them. And we're excited to be a part of that. And again, that was a Lilly endowment funded project for St. Mary of the Woods College. In the last several months, we've been able to add some new programs really through partnerships with local employers. The first one, a really good partnership with Hamilton Center to be able to add a Master's of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. This program actually started in May of this year and really has received really good attention from the community and beyond. This is a program that is much in need, and we've been able to provide resources for these students made possible by the Hamilton Center that, again, we would not have been able to do otherwise. I think the future is bright for the Woods when you think about how we might be able to make an impact in this particular market and the needs of employers and places like Hamilton Center and others. So we're really excited about what that will do for us and this need in the future. The next one, which is really a unique offering, about a year ago, we added the first paramedic to BSN program in the state of Indiana. That definitely probably hit some people thinking, what exactly does this look like? But if you think about the need for RNs, registered nurses in the field, and you think about what a typical paramedic is experiencing and how they've been trained, it's an excellent place to take that paramedic up to the full ability of being a BSN nurse. And we launched this program. It is online. It does have residential requirements, as you would guess. And this program has received extreme attention from the entire state, the entire United States. We have students that are knocking at our door every day wanting to get into this program. So it's not often you find a program like that, but we did. And we have excellent faculty and resources in our nursing area. The dean that oversees that, she is very experienced and very open to different ways of bringing students along. And I think this is an excellent example of how we've been able to make a difference in this area and a need that is clear to all of us. This program was also helped along by Human Health with a donation to the institution that is supporting us and supporting the growth. So we're really excited about what that will look like in the future. I would guess that by this fall, we will probably carry close to 100 students in this program that are, again, fully online. Wanted to share with you our impact on the local economy. We have about 220 FTE and our employees carry a $10.2 million payroll. And then you can see the different numbers I've shared with you on this slide. Just wanting to see or share with you where the Woods is in economic impact, as well as where do our students land when they end their program with us. 83% of our students live in Indiana. 56% of those students end up staying right here in the Wabash Valley. And I'm going to share with you that I think that that number will be challenged in the future because of the growth that we've had with athletic programs and the academic programs that students are desiring to come to the woods to pursue. The number of students that are out of state is actually growing. International is growing, and we're going to be challenged to maintain this. But anyway, that's where it is as of today, and we wanted to share that with you. Additionally, and really just 2 points, and I'll hand it over to Kristen. We wanted to share with you the economic impact that our students, these are our residential students, you know, they go out and they buy lots of coffee, probably. That's why the picture of students at the coffee shop is here. I hope they spend $3 million a year in coffee for the community. But anyway, they do make a local impact to our economy, and we wanted to share that with you. One thing before I hand it over to Kristen, there is no slide for this, but many of you are aware, I see many past participants, graduates of the Wabash Valley Leadership Institute. WVLI has had a long history for several years, and we are in the process of rethinking how we might go about offering this program. As you probably know, or you've heard, the program required a week-long intensive that was based on campus. You lived on campus. We actually encouraged the participants to disengage from their work and home life as much as they could so that they could really engage in the programming. They would earn, upon completion of the project and presentation, 3 graduate credit hours in one of our either MBA or Masters of Leadership Development or the Healthcare Administration program. They would earn 3 hours towards one of those programs. So there was an academic rigor to this, as you would guess, and that's what we do. But that piece will stay, but probably things like the schedule and how we go about providing that programming, those are things that we are currently evaluating. So what I would call WVLI 2.0 in the future. There will be more that we will share as we continue our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce on revamping that and rethinking that program. And St. Mary of the Woods College will continue to be a strong partner with the Chamber as we deliver WVLI 2.0 in the future. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the woods, and again, the ability for us to gather here today. And at this time, I will hand it over to Kristen Craig. So if you'll welcome her.
All right, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you being here today. And one more round of applause, not just for our presenters, but also their many team members out here in the audience who helped make this happen today. Before we close, I would like to make mention of one other educational asset that's coming online in our community. Some of you were there yesterday and got to put a sledgehammer through a wall for the kind of groundbreaking of the facility. But that's the Excel Center of West Central Indiana that's being put together by Wabash Valley Goodwill Industries. We have Meredith Osborne, who is the director of Goodwill, here with us today. Meredith, give everybody a little wave. This is a tuition-free program for adult learners who are interested in earning their high school diploma. We have flyers in the back of the room about this opportunity, and Meredith, I know, is more than willing to talk to your group, answer your questions, do whatever you need her to do to be able to get those questions answered and get people in our community who need that resource enrolled in their program. So again, many thanks to the school corporation for hosting us today, and also many thanks to the chamber team for doing all that they do. If you see Jessica, Josh, Austin, Morgan, or Lindsay on your way out, please give them a big thanks. They're always willing to jump in and support my crazy ideas. All right, everybody, go and have a good day. Thank you so much.